I thought it would be good to catch up with an old mate of mine because if anybody epitomizes living their life to the fullest, it's my guest today. And it's so lovely to say hi to Oscar Chalupsky.
How's it, Stu? How are you keeping?
Well, probably a lot better than you because I can't actually. I just want to check that you're not a hologram. You're a real living person, right?
I'm a real living person. I mean, you might sometimes think I wasn't, and sometimes I've had tough situations where I didn't think I was living, but now I am definitely living, and I'm living the life.
But now, every time I see your latest movements on Facebook or wherever, you're in another country. You came back here to do one talk, flew back. I think let's just tell people in case they may possibly have missed the fact you were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. How long ago?
That was on the, and I was sitting in here. I actually got the phone call right in this chair as I'm sitting here from the doctor on the 25th of November, 2019.
And you and I met shortly after that. We hadn't seen each other for years since the Capital Radio days. And we
Yeah.
and you were telling me about all the stuff you're doing, and then you happened to mention, oh, I've been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And
Yeah. I mean,
that's literally
that's
how the
exactly.
conversation went, I think.
That's exactly how it went, and I say, and I think that's important to realize that you don't want cancer to rule your life, but you don't want to keep it a secret because I think there's so many people out there that are trying to help you, and you can help them if you just tell the people, and talk about it, and that's the biggest thing. And I know you went through some trying times, and it is tough to talk about these things, but you've got to actually do it. And once you've talked about it, it actually becomes a non-event, which is what you want it to happen.
You really, I mean, do you believe that it's a non-event? Do you literally just go through the treatment that you have to do? And, cancer treatment's hectic, hectic. And you fly back to Porto, wherever you are, that's where you go because that's where your specialist is. How
Yeah.
do you put that out of your mind? How do you get on another stage and talk about success and achievement and your goals when I would find it very difficult to separate that harsh reality that you're living with every minute? How do you do it?
I think that's a mindset that you have to train yourself. I mean, that's what I've done my whole life is to sort of overcome adversity in many ways. Whether it's with apartheid, whether it's your mother dying when you're 18 years old, all these kind of things just build you up to actually learn how to face adversity. And I just know every week it's a pain in the ass. Believe me, I have to fly back from wherever. Like this week I go to London, and then I have to fly from London to Greece and then fly back and always fly back to have treatment because the South African treatment ran out. So there's no alternative. And the treatment that I'm having here, a drug called Carprolis, costs 600,000 Rand a month. So thank goodness I'm on a trial in here and it's actually working. I think it's working. As I say, I don't feel 100%. And I always know I've got this cancer, but I don't let it get in my way too much.
Do you think it affects your family more than it affects you?
Um, that's a good question. But the interesting thing is, if you are portraying like I'm talking to you, like it's a normal day, they also think it's a normal day, and they can't even sort of work it out that this our dad's got serious cancer. They don't even worry about it. They don't even think about it. So because you're not thinking about it. So, and I think that is important to also is to be out there and just act normal and don't worry about it. Yes, I put my son, funny enough, last week. I said, "Hey, come see what cancer is all about," and I took him to the hospital. We got there at 8 o'clock, and he just couldn't believe it that we left there at 6 o'clock in the evening. So we got there at 8 and left at 6. And again, inefficiency and what you have to do to wait. I said, this is what cancer is all about. You have to wait. You first have to do all the blood tests to see if you can actually have the treatment. And then they say, okay, now you're going to have the treatment. And it takes 3 hours for them to get the treatment. Then it takes another 2.5 hours to get the treatment. And it just put in perspective. And I said, hey, this is what you do. You just got to take it on the chin and carry on. Tomorrow will be another day.
And you've always been an impatient individual, because as far as you're concerned, you're ready. So now let's get on with it. And I don't know whether you've learned any patience along the way, but when we sat down in that restaurant all those years ago, you said, "But just to let you know, it's not going to beat me." And I mean, I've never forgotten that. And then you started telling me about how you do intermittent fasting and your diet had changed completely. What, tell me about your typical daily life. I mean, you're living on, it sounds like you're living on almost nothing. There are times when you're as strong as an ox again, and then the meds come and clap you.
Yeah, well, mainly the cancer hits me. I mean, like on basically in October, my kappa light chain level, which is the normal person's got 0, and a person with multiple myeloma or bone marrow cancer is at about 50, and and at 300 they feel bad. Mine was at 1,470, and they started all the meds, and I was in hospital, and again in life you have to change things up, So they said, no, you've got no chance. In fact, the doctor said to my wife, bring the family. The meds are not working, and they actually brought the priest in. And I said, hey, this is gone a bit too far. There's no way I'm going to let this happen. So then I fasted for 21 days. I didn't eat for 21 days, and that brought my kappa light chain levels from 1,470 all the way down to 330 in those 21 days. Having said that, my wife was sitting in the room day and night with me because I was fairly weak. But that's what you have to do. You have to do something different. I mean, the medicines weren't working, so I had to do this fasting, and it worked. And then interesting that 25th of November, I was sitting in this couch right here, getting them diagnosis that you have got no chance. You've got 6 months. And then on the 25th of November, 2023, I also said, listen, I'm getting out of this hospital to celebrate Claire's birthday on the 26th of November 2023, and I made it out, and we went to Neville Ellerman House, thanks to Paul Harris there. Ellerman House, I went for dinner. I made it. I mean, I wasn't very strong, but I made it out of the hospital after 3 weeks in the hospital, out of that by fasting, went to the birthday, and again, you set the goal to get out of that hospital, which I hate. So it's very easy for me to fast in the hospital because I don't like the hospital food. So, and the people like Big Eye saying, you've got to eat something. I said, no, I don't need to eat anything. I just had water, black coffee, and bone broth after about a week and a half.
And I'm guessing you lost some weight. Not that you got a lot to lose.
Yeah, no, you lose a lot of weight. So that's why sometimes I actually have to put on weight to make sure that I've got enough. So when I go into a radical diet, that your body is a magnificent organ, that when I stop eating, I lose the weight, but I lose the right weight. I lose all the bad cancers in the body. It eats all those things first, So that's why it's good to be up. And then now as I get fitter, I want to lose weight, get down to sort of like a 95. And then my wife said, honey, you look like a cancer patient. I said, I hate to tell you, I am.
Now, not everyone's as old as me, and not everyone's even as old as you. So talk about those early days of yours. You had a German dad, and you said, never pushed you. So he supported you but didn't push you?
Correct.
Where did the drive, you and your butt? You just wanted to be in the water and achieve, and you were great competitors, even with each other.
Yeah. So I mean, it basically started, I'd say, when I was about 13 years old. So it's at such a young age. At 13, when I won something, I mean, nobody teaches. Your father doesn't say, what do you do when you win something, which is extraordinary. So it started when I was 15, when I won junior and senior Ironman. It was never done in the world before. And maybe that sort of gave me the drive to say, oh, I like this, the accolades and people coming up to you. And I didn't even know when the people say congratulations. I had a guy, I'll never forget, Brian Patterson, a big guy, he came up to me and said, Oscar, when people say congratulations, you must say thank you. I mean, at 15, you don't actually even know. What do you say? Congratulations. I said, well, that's just normal. I just trained and I expected to win. That's. And then I realized how to sort of handle winning. And again, it's interesting when I'm listening to the Olympics about Adam Peaty and about Simone Biles, how they struggle with this adversity, and it just doesn't come in my head. I mean, I just can't understand what they go through, because as I went through the whole thing, and at 13, that drive, or 14, 15, that drive became so inherent in me, and it just never stopped at anything I did. Herman had a little bit less. I mean, Herman took about 3 or 4 years to catch me up, and then he pushed me all the time. But I have this drive, and I haven't lost it. and I'm 61 now, so I haven't lost it since 15 years old. And I also haven't had the mental problems that all the other successful people have, because you just got to be normal, And I think that's what people think. You put yourself on a pedestal, you think you're better than everywhere else. You're not. You're just normal. 2 arms, 2 legs, like you and me talking here. And I think when I look at these top athletes, I just can't understand. I don't care what pressure you've got to be normal. You've always got to come back to normal and realize that you are a normal person. And I think the balance in life also, so many people go this far on sport, too far, and this far on work, too far, because I was never a professional athlete. I was always having to work to make ends meet, look after the family, always had a family, still together. My wife and I, we've been together now for 36 years married, but 41 years together. So it's a long time. And again, you have your ups and downs, but there's no way I'd let sort of the demons that the Simone and Biles and Adam Peaty have. You just got to try and get that out of you, and you learn from other people. Again, you learn from other people.
I can remember seeing Dustin Hoffman doing a TV interview a long time ago, so maybe with Michael Parkinson, and just such a great actor. And he said he was asked about ego and getting up your own bottom with your importance and what have you. And he said, take your work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. And
that's a fantastic guy.
And I've never forgotten that. I mean, to me, that's what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean, it's a perfect example. I mean, when I'm racing, I will take your head off. I will kill you to win. But after the race, it's over. That's it. It's nothing I can do. The race is on. I've either won or lost. That's it. So, and that was against my brother as well. I couldn't care. I would have wanted to murder him to win and to be so determined to win. But afterwards, you've got to cut that off. And maybe this is what these top guys, they can't stop. They carry on being so important. You don't have to be. You just come back to normality. And again, I think that was instilled from that young age. Realize you're not going to win everything. And when you win, you just got to accept it and be very happy about it, but you've got to be normal.
And I wonder if Claire would agree that you're normal, because I've had some conversations with her during the more challenging times, and I think to have that rock that she obviously has been. I mean, the times that you didn't have money for anything, and yet you'd somehow get onto a plane and somehow get to the other side of the world and run screaming up to the start line. I mean, that's pretty challenging in any relationship. But 36 years of marriage, she's still talking to you.
She's still talking to me and still the rock, I mean, because you have to have these people in your life. I mean, that's, I think, one of the other important things. You've got to have people that you can lean on in tough times, because things don't go perfectly all the time. Don't believe that, I mean, that is cloud cuckoo land. I mean, at the end of the day, you have bad times and good times, and you've got to work through it. And if you've got a life partner, it helps so much to have that rock to stand on, or to lift you up when you're down. I mean, you can imagine how down and out. I mean, only 3 weeks ago I was in London, I had to do a talk, and I was playing golf at 9 o'clock. I woke up and I had a fever of 40 or 50. There she was, and I said, no, there's no way I'm not going to play the golf. I couldn't play the golf, couldn't get out of bed, but I'm going to do the talk. And it was at 3 o'clock. So from 9 o'clock in the morning, putting wet towels on me, keeping me down. Eventually at 3 o'clock, I stood up and gave my presentation. And that's what you need. I mean, if I didn't have her, what would I have done? I would have just sat there and got fired up and not made it, So those are the kind of things you have to have in life. You have to have this, not a crutch, you just have to have that support. And it comes from my wife and my kids, you, all the supporters on social media. They all help, and I think that's what people don't realize, that every little comment, I try and answer every single one to say, thank you very much, because I mean, that's the support that you need, and you need it in tough times. And then when things are going well, you also want that support.
So it's always wonderful for us to see you've played golf with Ernie a couple of times recently. I think you won on both occasions. We can't even imagine what it would be like to have a round with Ernie, but I suppose because you were at the top of your sport for so long, even though it was a sport that we don't, it's not soccer or rugby or cricket. And it's like one of those particular sports that often doesn't get the coverage. There just, I suppose, isn't time on the networks, and the networks have to sell to the biggest possible audience. And so we understand their considerations. But you've excelled in just about every sport you've ever taken on, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's because I've got this sort of drive and this goal to achieve. I mean, when I wanted to go play rugby, I said, hey, and I was at Westville Boys High. I never forgotten standing nine, and there wasn't even one Natal representative in rugby ever in Westville Boys High. I hadn't played even first team. I was in the fourth team. I wasn't even interested in rugby. And the rugby players got so many accolades. I said, okay, this is bugger. I was already a Springbok by then. I was already traveling around the world, my sport, but got no accolades, and nobody even worried about this paddler and swimmer and water polo player. I said, no, I'm going to play in the Natal schools. And again, that's the difference between me and somebody else. They would have said, oh, I'm going to play first team. I didn't say first team. I said, I'm going to play in the Natal schools. And again, set my goals, worked out a plan, and trained to it and did it, so that came the Craven Week. I made the Natal schools, the first person in Westville ever to make a provincial school team. And then I had the Craven Week in Stellenbosch, where I met Donnie Craven. And again, he didn't know me from my rugby. He knew from my paddling in the Berg River. So I met Donnie Craven there as well. So fantastic how the sport is. So anything I do, I like to do it at the highest level. And I try and compete like you can't believe. I mean, whether it's tiddlywinks or anything, I want to win.
And I think you were the oldest to win a number of championships. What was the record you broke, or the record you set?
Well, I mean, the Molokai, I won it. I won my first Molokai, which was from Molokai to Oahu, the 50-kilometer World Championships. I won that at age 20, and my last time I won at age 49. So when people say, "Oh no, Djokovic is so old, he's 37 and 38," I said, "Come at 49 and race against a 28-year-old." I couldn't even do one pull-up. They can do 1,000 pull-ups. And at the end of the day, and that's the difference. The difference is you've got to change with the times. I mean, I can't beat these guys with strength. They'll kill me in strength. You got to use your brains. And and I always say this: one thing we're all doing is getting older. No matter if you've got cancer or no cancer or sickness, it doesn't matter. We're getting older. But the one thing we can do, and we all can do it, there's no excuses. Educate ourselves. Become more clever. I mean, again, it wasn't just by luck. I mean, I raced the mile race at 49 years old on no water and no food. And people say, what? I said, no. I didn't want my body to use any energy except for powering me across that finishing line. I didn't want it to use any power to metabolize water or anything. So that's why I went with no water, no food, the whole race. And people say, oh, you're crazy. I said, not crazy. There's the result that shows you. And again, you're using your brains and you're educating yourself from people like Shackleton and the French Foreign Legion. So you learn from all these things, and you can always learn. You don't have to just learn from sports books. You learn from all different people and all different walks of life, and you just take out those nuggets that will help you be better than everybody else.
Well, you continue to inspire me. Hopefully you'll inspire our audience, and who knows, we'll see you on another corporate stage. I can't believe you're still taking on gigs. I'm delighted that you are. And, may you just keep being strong and positive, because you are remarkable.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. I mean, and it's from people like you. Everybody's around there supporting. And again, it goes both ways. I'm here for anybody that's suffering cancer and suffering hardships. And I know you are there for all other people that are listening to us as well. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what life's about, is giving, and you get back more.
That's for sure. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Stuart.